Imagine a highway without cars, stretching thousands of miles across deserts, mountains, and empires. On this road flowed not just silk and spices, but stories, religions, and technologies. This was the Silk Road, the ancient world's information superhighway. Long before airplanes, long before Wi-Fi, the Silk Road was how humanity learned from each other, weaving together the first threads of globalization. Origins of the Silk Road. The Silk Road began around the 2nd century BCE during China's Han Dynasty. As Chinese silk gained fame in the West, traders began connecting East Asia with Central Asia, the Middle East, and eventually Europe. But silk was only the beginning. The road became a network of routes linking civilizations across 7,000 kilometers, from the great city of Chang'an in China to Rome on the Mediterranean. It wasn't a single road, but a web of paths, each one carrying treasures and ideas. The goods that changed the world. Silk gave the road its name, but countless other goods traveled with it. From east to west went porcelain, paper, tea, and gunpowder. From west to east came glassware, horses, wool, and precious metals. Exotic spices traveled in both directions, changing diets forever. The Silk Road made everyday life richer and more colorful, creating global tastes long before globalization was a word. More than trade, the spread of religions. Perhaps the most powerful cargo was not silk or spices, but faith. Buddhism spread from India into China and beyond, carried by monks and pilgrims along the Silk Road. Christianity and Islam also traveled these routes, leaving lasting imprints on Central Asia. Zoroastrianism, Judaism, and countless local beliefs mixed along the way. The Silk Road wasn't just a market, it was a spiritual crossroads where religions met, blended, and transformed. The exchange of ideas. Beyond religion came philosophy, science, and technology. Papermaking traveled from China to the Islamic world and eventually to Europe, revolutionizing communication. Mathematics, astronomy, and medicine spread across cultures. Even music and art were exchanged. Styles and instruments that began in one corner of the world appeared in another. The Silk Road was a living university where every traveler was both student and teacher. The great cities. The Silk Road was dotted with cities that became jewels of culture and trade. Samarkand and Bukhara in Central Asia flourished as hubs of commerce and learning. Baghdad, during the Abbasid Caliphate, became home to the House of Wisdom, where Greek, Persian, and Indian texts were translated into Arabic. Kashgar, at the crossroads of China and Central Asia, thrived as a vital stop for caravans. These cities became melting pots where languages, foods, and ideas blended into something new. The dangers of the journey. But the Silk Road was not for the faint-hearted. Caravans faced scorching deserts, freezing mountains, and endless stretches of wilderness. Bandits prowled the routes, and political instability could turn safe paths into death traps. Traders relied on camels, known as ships of the desert, to carry goods across harsh terrain. Every journey was a gamble, but the rewards could be life-changing. Empires and power. The Silk Road thrived when empires protected it and declined when wars disrupted it. The Han Dynasty guarded China's roots, while the Roman Empire provided markets in the West. Centuries later, the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan created the largest continuous empire in history, making the Silk Road safer than ever. Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, allowed merchants like Marco Polo to travel from Venice to China with unprecedented freedom. Marco Polo and the Western imagination. The Venetian merchant Marco Polo journeyed to China in the 13th century, traveling along Silk Road routes. His accounts of the wealth of the Yuan dynasty astonished Europe, fueling dreams of the East as a land of riches and wonders. Though historians debate the accuracy of his tales, his stories symbolize how the Silk Road fired the imagination of distant lands and expanded the horizons of possibility. The Silk Road and disease. Trade brought wealth and ideas, but it also carried invisible dangers. The bubonic plague, known as the Black Death, traveled along the Silk Road in the 14th century, devastating Europe and Asia. The same routes that spread prosperity also spread catastrophe, reminding us that global connections carry both benefits and risks. Cultural fusion. The Silk Road was not just a path of goods, it was a path of people. Intermarriages, migrations, and cultural exchanges created hybrid traditions. Art styles combined, cuisines blended, and languages borrowed from one another. In many ways, the Silk Road showed the beauty of diversity long before our modern age, proving that human culture is strongest when it is shared. The decline of the Silk Road. By the 15th century, the Silk Road began to fade. Political instability, the fall of powerful empires, and the rise of maritime trade routes weakened its importance. When Europeans discovered sea routes to Asia, the overland Silk Road declined. Yet its impact was permanent. The connections it forged had already reshaped the world. The Silk Road's legacy. Even after its decline, the Silk Road left an indelible mark. It inspired the age of exploration, encouraged cultural exchanges, and set the stage for globalization. The sharing of ideas, inventions, and traditions along its paths laid the foundation for our modern interconnected world. The modern Silk Road. Today, the Silk Road lives again in a new form. With global trade, internet connections, and cultural exchanges, we are more interconnected than ever. China's modern Belt and Road Initiative is often called the New Silk Road, reviving the vision of linking continents through commerce and cooperation. In a sense, the spirit of the Silk Road never died. It simply evolved. Conclusion. A road without end. The Silk Road was more than a trade route. It was a lifeline of civilization. It showed that humanity's greatest strength lies not in isolation, but in connection. Goods, ideas, religions, and even fears flowed along it, shaping who we are today. The Silk Road reminds us that every journey carries more than cargo. It carries culture, knowledge, and the possibility of transformation. And though its sands may have shifted, its legacy continues to guide the pathways of our global world.